What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of new books that have come out this week. And we are going to talk about one of your requests, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, at the end of the podcast. If you'd like to request a book, leave a comment on Apple Podcasts, rating 5 stars, and also request a book.
Only if you think we deserve it. You know, I don't
Otherwise,
be
leave
honest.
6 stars or something like that. I don't even know if that's possible. But let's kick it off with the new stuff. First, Stranger Things Summer Special #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Keith Champagne, art by Caio Filipe. This is, of course, timed to the release of the second volume of Stranger Things Season 4. However, this takes place during Stranger Things Season 3 and follows the 2 hapless cops from Hawkins as they stumble through a mystery that is happening sideways, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern style.
That's just what I was going to say about this.
Take it away, Justin.
The perfect Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead for the Stranger Things universe, specifically Season 3, like Alex said. This was fun. I thought they did a good job of approaching all of the scenes from a way where we didn't quite know how it was going to spill out, and I like that they sort of broke the pattern at certain points in it. And I've been liking, I think we've reviewed a lot of these different Stranger Things sort of ancillary comic book content, and they are finding creative ways to approach the universe, which I appreciate.
Pete, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I love the creepy grandma in it. But
I mean, honestly, you're leaning into this at this point, Pete.
Yeah.
Especially in a week when we're covering the text for Hot Grandma in a little bit. So really, truly, Pete.
I'm sorry, the text? What did you just say?
Original. It's like
the original text.
Yeah.
All day, day.
Did you just eat a high chew, or what's going on with you right now?
Yeah, I just had a Hulk Pez real quick. I needed to pick me up. You got to speed through these.
Wow. Pete's juicing on the side during the podcast. He's got a Hulk Pez on the...
The comic is beautiful. It's, it's fun. It's not as like some of the other ones have been like more intense, or this art's a little kind of reflective of these 2 kind of bumbling cops. So it's a little bit more, I don't want to say cartoony because I don't want to undercut how cool the art is. But it's fun.
Yeah, I had a good time with this one as well, particularly because with so much focused on Season 4, I had kind of forgotten that I really like Season 3, so seeing this sideways adventure on it was a lot of fun. Why don't we move on to another one that's not a sideways adventure, but a prequel, Black Adam, The Justice Society Files Hawkman, #1 from DC Comics, written by Cavan, Scot, and by Bryan Q. Miller, art by Scott Eaton, Maria Laura Sanapo, Travis Mercer, Jesus Merino, and Marco Santucci. I don't think all of them worked on this specific book, but you know what? The credits weren't that good. That's my one criticism, though, because Cavan Scott, who was on our live show last week, teased this up really nicely for a cool mystery involving the movie version of Hawkman. It ties in and also tees up a couple of things that are presumably going to show up in the Black Adam movie starring Dwayne Johnson. But what did you guys think about this, both as a comic book and as a movie tie-in?
Well, first off, the covers made me think I was going to get a little bit more Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in this comic, and it wasn't. So I was a little let down by that. But I was happy with the Hawkman story that I got. I thought it was an interesting, more jacked take on Hawkman.
More jacked.
Yeah, it's like regular Hawkman, but more jacked.
Well, Justin, what did you think about this one?
Interesting. Black Adam movie. I'm curious. I'm a Hawkman fan, so to have finally getting to see like a good take on Hawkman, I'm curious. I mean, good is we don't know really. But as for the comic, like I liked it. I think. This Hawkman is more jacked. But you would say like beefier, I think, Pete, right?
Yeah, that's what more jacked means.
Pete, lean into your microphone. Oh, my God. Stop?
Yes, that's what more Jack means.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is a different take on Hawkman. I also really like the different take on Gentleman Ghost, a character that I have never understood my entire life as a comic book fan. This is the first time the character actually worked for me. I thought it was really good here and a good villain, so I was very happy about that.
He was more of a man than a gentleman, I felt like, in this.
Ooh, interesting.
Exactly.
Hot take.
Next up, Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor, #2, continuing our tour of teeing up major media properties from Marvel, written by Torunn Grønbekk, art by Michael Dowling. This issue, unlike the other two that we mentioned, this is only in name only, tying into Thor, Love and Thunder. Here, we're getting a Jane Foster who is Valkyrie. She is grappling with her identity, taking a tour of the Marvel Universe as some bad things are coming, have already come for Thor. She is investigating the mystery of where he has gone. Pete, what'd you think about this one?
Well, I hope this is half of what the movie we're going to see here with Love and Thunder. This is a cool Jane kind of take. And, I feel like, if we're not going to get this in a movie, now I'm a little sad about it. So, but I like this. I thought it was great. Art was fantastic. Love the kind of action and kind of the explanation of kind of the different handoff for the title of Thor.
I mean, a lot of Thor comics are pretty intense bad news for Asgard and Thor in general. This one was more stressful for me. I don't know why. It just feels like it's everything bad happening at once. I really like the way they're treading the line between Valkyrie and Thor, Mjolnir, and we're not really seeing the Thor, the Jane Thor yet. I think is interesting. And I don't know where we're going. It's just bad things, and there's still sort of the trail, the trail of crumbs that she's chasing.
I agree. This is a very stressful read, but I think that's down to Torunn Grønbekk, who has been turning in some really good comics lately. The art by Michael Dowling is good, and there is a cameo by one of my favorite underused Marvel Comics characters. This ties back to, this is kind of a spoiler, but ties back to Inferno, one of my favorite crossovers. So I was very surprised to see this character show up here, but it's cool and it's fun. Next up, Mind Management Bootleg, #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Matt Kindt, art by Farel Dalrymple. This is bringing back Mind Management, a property that is about a secret society/organization that has been controlling and running and saving the world for decades. One of the things that really characterized the first version of this series is Matt Kindt was playing around with the comic book form the entire time. There were always coded messages everywhere and things hidden in the margins of the comic. Here we get a little bit of that, and it is so cool. Farel Dalrymple's art is so awesome, and even though it's a new iteration, even though I didn't know that I necessarily wanted more Mind Management, I am so excited to have this back. I don't want to spoil any of the surprises here, but same sort of thing, playing with it in new versions. I love this. What about you guys?
This is a really smart comic. It's done really well. The art is amazing. It's quite an adventure. It's a fun, oh man, you don't know what's going to kind of happen next. I had a great time with this. This is really impressive.
Sorry to interrupt you, Justin. I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised to hear that, Pete, because I was a little worried, given that there's a lot of interstitial and written information, which is something that you hasn't necessarily loved over in the X-Men comics, Pete. I was worried reading this that you were not going to like it. So because of that, so I'm glad to hear that
I think
you did.
it was the style differential and stuff like that, the way it was kind of brought together that didn't remind me of that. So I was kind of pulled into this world instead of kind of forced into doing a style that I don't enjoy in the other one.
I really like this as well. I thought I feel like you don't even need to have read any of the other Mind Management stuff. You can really walk into this. And it's Art's very cool, fun, sort of tense mysteries throughout. And there's a great little back matter thing here that I thought was a fun twist on things we've seen before.
Yeah. I love when we get to see behind the curtains of like, how things are made and stuff like that, and to kind of see what they did with the script and paneling. But the art is really impressive.
Did you read it, Pete?
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, because that wasn't the panels. Let's just spoil something for a second here. This is the thing that they do. One of the things that they do in the issue is they end it with, here's a little peek behind the curtain if you want to read a comic book script and find out how a comic book is made. Right. Compare this to the comic you read. It's not that. It's more information about the characters and more, it doesn't actually match up to anything that's happened in the comic book. It's entirely new panels and entirely new information about the characters.
But that's very creative and different. And
it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's not in the book. It's not an actual script.
Well, it is a script because it says the panel and then there's writing and it kind of shows you what a script in a comic would look like.
Totally fair. Did you read, while we're spoiling the little bits in the comic book, did you read the panel that was all text that said, you're probably not going to read this? Yep, I know you did. Yeah, there's a panel in there where it's like, it gives more information. It's like, hey, this is all text, so you're probably not going to read this panel, but you're going to come back and read it later. Great stuff like that throughout the book. Super awesome. Let's move on to an ending here that's a little more straightforward, surprisingly, by comparison. The Joker, number 15 from DC Comics, written by James Tynion IV and Sam Johns. Art by Giuseppe Camuncoli and Sweeney Boo. This is the final issue of Joker, tying up the mystery of Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon. Sorry.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
And his friend, he's tracking down the jerker. It's great. This is really good.
Jordan D. White.
Good night, everybody. Tracking down the Joker. It's basically Gordon laying down the whole mystery for Batman over the course of the issue. What'd you guys think about this one?
Well, regardless of I thought it was like kind of just a little bit of a letdown because it was just a debrief the whole time. It was kind of Gordon monologuing to Batman.
That's nice. That's the point. It's where the mystery is unfolded for us.
Oh, I didn't know this is the part where you would just cut me off and kind of ruin what I was building towards. Cool. That's what I was going to say, that it was this thing that was kind of like a letdown as far as like we're not living the action live, but the fact that at the end of it, Gordon and kind of talking about like how much he likes these talks on the roof and like what it means to him was interesting and cool. But as far as like what's going to happen tension was gone because it was afterwards in the debrief.
So what you're saying, Pete, is you both liked it and absolutely hated it.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Just to boil it down.
What did you think about it, Justin?
I liked it a lot. There are a lot of great twists and turns that we get sort of exposed here. Great callbacks. I don't want to spoil them, but great callbacks to some characters from the past and some sort of repeated action that will haunt James Jurgen, the commissioner, for quite some time. And
old JJ.
JJ. I feel like they pulled this off. To do this series and have it be pinned to Commissioner Gordon the entire time, I don't think we really anticipated that. And they never switched perspectives, which I thought was cool.
It was impressive, the fact that we got this amazing Jim Gordon story in the Joker book and delved really deep into these characters. So it is impressive what was accomplished in this overall.
I'm on the same page with you, Pete, just in terms of this is not what I was expecting for the final issue, but structurally making this basically like an Agatha Christie style mystery where the detective lays out everything in the final scene or whatever it is. I think that made total sense. Overall, this has been a phenomenal book that I've really liked a lot. Yeah. Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, number 2 from Marvel, written by Jackson Lanzing and Collin Kelly. Art by Carmen Carnero. Captain America, among many other things that he's doing, is exploring a mystery about his shield and what it actually means in a secret cabal that may have originated that symbol potentially. There's some big revelations in this issue. This book is killing it, I think. I love this. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Pete. You go.
I was just really impressed with the swings that is taking and the moves that is happening. The way it kind of just kept ramping up was really impressive. I also really like the small moments of like teaching the kid how to box and all that kind of stuff. I keep thinking like, oh, I understand what's happening in this comic, and then it keeps making better choices, which is really enjoyable. Go ahead.
You're familiar with a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Yeah, like if you're
That's
in a
how
field.
I roll every day.
Sure.
Yeah, Pete dresses as a sheep, but he's a blood-hungry wolf. I feel like this comic is a great comic that wrapped into just a regular comic, like a comic we've seen before, because it feels like, oh, here's Captain America. He's just starting over, being an aw shucks hero, going out and doing stuff. But it's just a great version of that. The art is really nice, really clean, and the mystery is really engaging, and it's using Captain America history, but also sort of remixing it in a way that I just didn't see coming, like you're saying, Alex.
Oh, wow. Really well said, Justin.
Oh, thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
Wow, friends. Starhenge, Book 1, The Dragon and the Boar, number 1 from Image Comics by Liam Sharp. This is a remix of Arthurian mythology over multiple timelines. It is absolutely wild, but in my mind, it stands out for the incredible art by Liam Sharp, which I would say it's worth it for the art alone. Pete, what would you say?
Wow. Well, it's fun when, your fellow podcaster takes everything that you wanted to say, and then you immediately say, hey, what are your thoughts?
You know what, Pete? That's a bananas good point. I'm glad you said
it. Yeah, the art is bananas good. It's worth it for the art alone. This is just beautiful, creative, well laid out, tripped out, but also impressive. Wow.
It's bananas for the good alone. It's a kick in the art pants the entire time.
Great stuff. Dark Crisis.
No, I also like this. This was a wild read. This was I was going to say a little bit more. This is a wild read and a wild ride that I liked.
Really good stuff. Definitely like very European comic style. So if you're into that sort of thing, I think check this out. Did you say weird?
Yeah, weird. Like I didn't get that vibe from it, but maybe if you put like a little beret on there and then smoked a cigarette, it would kind of have that feel. But I don't know.
Yeah,
if
there's like
from.
Big Ben or like whatever, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, is
Alex
it just
went to Europe.
You it was beautiful and the artwork was like so kind of huge that it made you think of the Across the Pond? I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
it was when the guy, for me, it was when the guy barfed the fish.
You were like, oh, yeah.
Europe. I was like, that's Europe.
Yeah, and when they played Scotty Doesn't Know, I think that did it.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Miss Guzzi.
Dark Crisis number 2 from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Daniel Sempere. In this issue, Titan's Tower is under attack by Deathstroke and a cadre of villains. How are you guys feeling about this event so far, 2 issues in?
Well, first off, the covers were cool.
Very cool.
I think this is super fun. Loved all the cool fight scenes. Built tension nicely. I love the cyborg entrance in this. When it was just kind of fighting, focusing on the fight scenes, I was in it to win it. I'm not sure what's happening as far as like a bigger arc yet, but let's do this.
I love the cyborg entrance, but I don't know what's happening otherwise in this book. I think this event is interesting. It's not what I expected. It's very focused on sort of passing the torch, which makes a little bit of sense since the Justice League is ostensibly dead and it's up to everybody else except for Hal Jordan, oddly, who's there. But it's also such a focused event. It's very like following these characters in sort of like one-to-one experiences, when I would think it would be more like most crises events are just so big and jumping around so much, and this is not doing that. I wish it was swinging bigger, and maybe it will in later issues. I think the art was awesome, and Joshua Williamson, we love him here. He's always a good, reliable writer. But to call out a specific moment, and this is a big spoiler in the book, but it comes down to this fight where Deathstroke has Nightwing in his sights, and Nightwing says, all right, if you're going to leave everybody alone, if you kill me, kill me. And they pull back from that, and they do a classic comic book thing of like, no, it's not time to kill everybody yet, and they leave. And I don't want them to kill Nightwing, but I wish they had killed Nightwing in that moment. Like, that's the sort of thing that would feel like to me like, oh my God, what is happening in this book? And even if they reverse everything and everybody comes back to life by the end of the book, that's the sort of big swings I need from a crisis. Like, I need a crisis to be like, this changes everything. And if instead it's keeping status quo.
Yeah, but this is Final Crisis 2. This isn't you know what I mean? It's not like you got to take it down in the second one a little bit. It can't be such a huge crisis. It's got to be a little bit.
Yeah. It's like how Harold and Kumar 2 was like a little bit of a letdown after Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
I mean, that was the best one out of all of them. Come on, dude. You know.
I like that that's the reference that's throbbing in your brain, right, when we're talking about this.
Well, why don't we move on to another burgeoning event, Avengers Forever, #7 from Marvel, written by Jason Aaron, art by Aaron Kuder. In this issue, our Avengers are continuing their tour of the multiverse. Here, we're getting a bunch of Steve Rogers in a prison together, trying to figure out what's going on and how to break out. This was awesome.
This was so much fun. Cool. The art was great.
I feel like when I was reading this book, I was like, is this an issue of Ice Cream Man that has been somehow mashed up into the Marvel universe? But no, like, that's what I feel like. We talk about this a lot, but Jason Aaron is just having so much fun in the Marvel universe right now, and he has like a total blank slate to just do whatever he wants, and he's making some great choices.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the nice thing about like Justin, do you have a question? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Okay.
No. I will answer. I give answers in the form of a question.
Okay, sorry, you raised your hand. So anyways, I think it's one of those things where Jason Aaron should be allowed to do whatever he wants because he is killing it. This is such a creative, cool comic that you wouldn't see for a normal like Avengers. So it's impressive what we're getting in this. And man, it's a lot of fun. I did not want this to end.
Well, I'll also throw out there, not to pit one thing against each other, but the way that they're doing the multiverse in the movies and TV shows does not even come close to comparing to what Jason Aaron does in this one comic book. Like, thinking very specifically about Multiverse of Madness, where they're like, I don't know, what if he was paint for a second? All right, anyway, here's a universe where stop signs are different. Versus this, where you get so many different Steve Rogers and so many different iterations for a very specific thematic purpose that ties into the origin of Steve Rogers and gets to the core of the character. In 20 pages, it's fantastic. Love it. Moving on, though, Closet #2 from Image Comics, written by James Tynion IV, art by Gavin Fullerton. This is following the story of a little child who is scared of their closet, and they have rights to be because there's a terrifying creature that lives inside, and the no-account dad who is taking them across the country as they move. Oh, God, this book.
Yeah, this was my favorite read of the week, I think.
What the fuck are you talking about? I literally was like, nope, and had to walk away. Like, this was so fucking upsetting. Fuck you for what you did to this little kid. Like, this was really fucked up. Like, you set this up as somebody who's like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm so wrapped up in my fucking life, I'm not going to notice the turmoil that this fucking poor child is going through. And it just is a nightmare scenario that I hated to see play out.
I know you're calling it a nightmare scenario, not to jump on Justin, but Justin is upstate with both of his kids right now, and I feel like this is actually a dream scenario.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, that's what I loved about the book so much.
You want this to happen to your children?
No, I mean, I tell my kids about the alien monster in the closet a lot, just trying to to start this process going.
Warn your kids.
But what I like about this book is that it really gets into there's great intimate moments here, despite the fact that it's also terrifying for half of the book.
So that's what's hard to enjoy, the small moments, the slice of life stuff, because of the horrible things happening to children.
That's what I think is so wonderful about this. I mean, first of all, Gavin Fullerton's art is sparse and beautiful throughout this book, even though it's mostly a conversation between two guys outside drinking beers over a fire. But beautiful, beautiful stuff. So well done. There's a creeping dread throughout this book. Incredible. Let's move on, though. Suicide Squad Blaze, Book 3 from DC Comics, written by Simon Spurrier, art by Aaron Campbell. This is the last issue of this book about a group that has been working with the Suicide Squad to try to take down a serial killer who has seemingly unlimited powers, but every time one of them dies, they gain more and more power equal to him. We all finish it here in, without getting too much into spoilers, a very meta way. I thought this book was really cool with some gorgeous art by Aaron Campbell. What did you guys think?
Yeah, you want to talk about worth it for the art alone. This is like fireworks in comic panel art form. It's really just the splashing and the use of colors in this way is just hypnotizing and impressive as fuck, man. This is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. The sort of neon, the way the art built and sort of ramped up right along with the action and the narrative was really cool. Sort of a subtle touch in there, and just some big Suicide Squad action that sort of blows the roof off in ways that they often can't do in the regular books.
The Amazing Spider-Man #5 from Marvel, written by Zeb Wells, art by John Romita Jr. Some bad stuff has happened with Spider-Man, and some even worse stuff in the last issue as Tombstone tricked him into taking down the Rose. That's where we pick up in this issue, as he decides to take the psychological fight, at the very least, back to Tombstone. I'm really enjoying this run a lot. I think it's very different and very fun in a surprising way. How about you guys?
The shot of like bloody Spider-Man, like kind of like this ominous, creepy fucking thing really has stayed with me, and I'm having a hard time shaking off. But really awesome moments. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in this comic. Even the small moments, the back and forth between Spider-Man and Tombstone at the kind of the end of the comic, really impressive. Not only is the art bananas good, but the story is great. It's impressive to see what they're doing in this.
Pete's falling back in love with Spider-Man. It's about time that it happened. Spider-Man gets his face messed up in this so many times, it's just hard to look at that. But I do like this book is so surprising. I keep thinking it's going to be an out-of-continuity Spider-Man book, but it's not. It's happening to him.
Really good stuff. Let's move on and talk about That Texas Blood, #15 from Image Comics, written by Chris Condon, art by Jacob Phillips. This is following a serial killer with a Halloween mask who is stalking the town during winter, I guess. So he's a little bit
a blizzard.
Off. Yeah, a couple of months off, I guess. But Justin, you've been really digging this arc in particular. What'd you think about this one?
I love this comic. I feel like they just are telling some different stories from different genres in each new arc here, and this getting into sort of the serial killer way of it. And I like the way they sort of come at it from a different angle. It's just really smart writing and all about focusing in on little moments with each character. This is one of my favorite series on the stand, so I say pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about pretty much every issue of this for good reason. It's really impressive what they're accomplishing in every issue. Art is bananas good. The writing is top notch. It's really impressive, the different angles they're coming at, like Justin was talking about. every time you open it up, it's a treat.
Definitely agree. Flashpoint Beyond, number 3 from DC Comics, written by Jeff Johns, Jeremy Adams, and Tim Sheridan. Art by Zermanico and Mikel Janin. In this issue, the Superman of the Flashpoint Earth is trying to recruit Batman, who is Thomas Wayne, to help him in a coming fight. Things are getting pretty bad, but Batman don't care. He's got his own stuff going on. Meanwhile, in the background, a lot of time shenanigans are going on, and we don't know exactly what's happening with that. Also, a serial killer is on the loose. So a lot of stuff happening in this issue. How are you guys feeling about this event so far?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I thought this issue had really sort of more to say on the art side than the previous issues. Getting into some more fantastical things, which I thought was cool. It's interesting sort of building these alternate Flashpoint universe versions of these characters. It almost feels like this book is a little bit more Crisis than the Dark Crisis book, which I think is a funny flip-flop.
It's definitely more intense than the Crisis one, which I don't really know if it's a good thing right now because I don't really know what the fuck is going on. I just know cranky Batman's not having any of it. So, okay.
Cranky Batman.
I was happy to see the Yellow Flash dead. I just don't know what's happening. You know what I mean?
I do think we need to start getting some answers here as of the next issue of this book. So I'm on the same page as you, Pete, but I continue to like this a lot more than Flashpoint. I think there's some interesting things that potentially are going on here. A lot of it, though, depends on how it all comes together.
If you find yourself saying, I want my Batman older and crankier, this is the book for you.
Little Monsters, number 5 from Image Comics, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Dustin Nguyen. In this issue, our adorable little vampires have met a new predator who is trying to take them down just as they've tried human blood for the first time and are really enjoying it. So it's a real bummer for them. How are you guys feeling? Are you rooting for these adorable little monsters here? You want them to take out the human race, or like this dumb hunter guy who wants to
what's
kill all
going
of
on
our
with
friends?
you? You really getting into blood and stuff lately?
Listen, I had like one taste of blood, and I'm never going back, man.
Wow. You live in that vamp life.
Never going back.
Vamp life.
Vamp life. Zalbin continues to get creepier and creepier with time. No surprises there. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what's kind of happening in this town with these kids, and you really have a sweet little moment where this kid kind of refuses to leave this other kid's side. Yeah, and I'm interested to kind of find out what's going on with the kind of older people, but yeah, this is not only beautiful, but a really kind of interesting and creepy book.
Yeah, these kids were sort of on a nice run for a while, and then things seem to be turning against them. But I like that we're getting a little bit of backstory with each issue, and there's a stillness in this book, I think, with the art and the writing that I think we don't see in a lot of comics that I like.
Oh, agreed, man.
Batman Killing Time, number 5 from DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by David Marquez. In this issue, it's all coming down to a big fight in the park for our relic. We finally find out what that relic is, though we don't know exactly what it does, as well as a big revelation at the end of this issue. I know all of you, including myself.
All 2 of you and you? Oh, okay.
Really like this book, but what did the 3 of us think of it?
Well, I'm having a blast with this. I love the art, love the action. They're kind of really, the pace of this is very enjoyable. This is one of my favorite books.
This is my favorite read of the week, which is something I never say. I thought this was great. There's a great reveal here. It's also just heartbreaking. The first 5 or 6 pages are just talking about the way different people die and little snapshots of their lives. Oh, I thought it was so good and so affecting. So I really enjoyed this.
And even worse, this is the saddest, most frustrating part of those first couple of pages. I believe most of those people who die were named after podcasters, and we weren't included. And that's very upsetting. No, I want to die. I want a bunch of criminals.
Hey, we're on the same page with that one, buddy. You know what I mean?
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Dark turn. This is a real slice of death, our podcast, and I don't know if I can handle it.
Twig number 3 from Image Comics, written by Scotty Young, art by Carl Schramm. In this issue, our main character is continuing his adorable but terrifying adventure through the land to save the world. Pete, I know you're a big fan of this comic. What did you think about this issue?
This continues to be glorious. The art and storytelling, minimal words and text, which I just love. Get your fucking words out of my art. Let me enjoy this beautiful world. This is so creative and fun, but man, kind of takes a little twist at the end where our hero is maybe doing something that isn't hero-like. I'm a little concerned about Twiggy's motivation, but man, goddamn, every issue of this is just fantastic.
If you hate words on your art, Pete, you should try paintings. They are fun. But I like Twig a lot. I do think this character has changed so much in just the 3 issues that we've read of this book.
Pretty impressive stuff. Poison Ivy number 2 from DC Comics, written by G. Willow Wilson, art by Marcio Takara. In this issue, Poison Ivy is continuing her journey across the country, trying to kill the entire world with
kill them all, baby.
Viral pandemic. You like that, Pete?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, weird.
Too soon?
Very much too soon. But in this issue, she stops at a diner to spread her virus even further and encounter somebody who may swerve her from her mission. I'm loving how dark this book is. What about you guys? What do you think?
I agree. If you're shitty to your wait staff,
I can't
you deserve
believe
to die. Oh, sorry, Justin, you were going to say something.
Wow, that's another... I was going to say, I can't believe how dark this book is. Like, again, another book that feels like it's not in continuity because it's just like straight up murder. But it's really good. Like, I love the way like Poison Ivy like meets this woman and they sort of strike up some sort of connection, and she doesn't care. She lets it go.
It's just so creative. The art is really unbelievable, and it's a interesting take on Poison Ivy. And done to the max, turn to 11. Let's see if what Poison Ivy would do. So I'm excited to see how this all unfolds.
And shout out to Marcio Takara on art. I love the different takes on Ivy, the different takes on vegetation as well that she puts in here are so cool and trippy. It's a really, really good book. Very interested to see where it goes. Next up, Once and Future number 27 from Boom Studios, written by Kieran Gillen, art by Dan Mora. In this issue, the sword Excalibur emerges and all the Arthurian kings are going for it. Meanwhile, our heroic grandma is trying to stop them. Pete, go ahead.
The grandma of origin, Pete.
This is crazy bananas. The amount of all the things coming together here for the sword and the stone moments. You're going to try. If you're standing near it, why wouldn't you try to pull it out, see if you're a hero or not? I like that. You can't get enough of this grandma. When we don't see her, I'm constantly wondering what's going on with her, what's she doing. It's just
because you love her.
It's one of the great characters in comic books. And I'm glad we were here to witness it because, this changed history.
This changed history. Wow. How do you follow that up? I mean, I got to say, like, I do like this book, but it still is like, to me, it got just too big, and I don't know how they can just carve it back down to a point where I can sort of understand why characters are doing anything. It seems like the characters are even like, okay, so wait, what are we doing? And I just feel like I want a little bit more of a contained story with this one.
I'm with you, Justin, on this. I got to be perfectly honest. When we were putting together this stack, I was like, do we have to talk about this one, and then I realized Pete would get mad if we didn't talk about it, I included it. But it's like, where are we going? We need an end game for this title at this point. We need to finish it.
There was Golden Girls, and that brought up grandmas to a level that everybody could respect and acknowledge. And then there's Once and Future. You know what I mean? Like, they're both doing the same.
I have a question for you, Pete. There's a book, and I swear I'm not making this up, coming out from Image Comics called Golden Rage, which is about Hunger Games, but with grandmas. If we start reviewing that, can we stop reviewing Once and Future?
No.
Wow.
No, we can't.
Oh, man. All right, no trade there. DC versus Vampires, number 7 from DC Comics, written by James Tynion IV and Matthew Rosenberg.
Bergie.
There we go. Art by Otto Schmidt. In this issue, a bunch of survivors are fighting against the vampires who have taken over the country. They come up with a plan to try and take things back. Pete, I know you've really been digging this title. What did you think about this issue?
This is just amazing art, amazing action, coming head to head. You get it all in the title, but they're just having so much fun with this event, and I'm loving it. I think this is such a cool idea and a fun kind of expression of it. Amazing last page. It was just great all the way through. There's some comics that are kind of like building towards the tension, whatever. This is just like nonstop. From start to finish, just a solid action-packed comic that delivers on every issue. I'm having a blast.
Wow, the energy is palpable. I agree though with Pete. Like, this book is so fun. It feels like they're just cramming every great idea all at once. Like, they're running out of time with this, and it's moving quickly in a way I didn't expect. And I love how down and out our heroes are, our little cadre of DC stars.
The Ward, number 2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Cavan Scot, art by Andre Ponce. As mentioned, we talked to Cavan Scot about this title and a little bit about this issue on last week's live show, so definitely check that interview out. But in this issue, our supernatural hospital is dealing with multiple things at the same time. There is a troll being born, there's a gelatinous cube that's eating somebody, and a bunch of other things that are going on. They manage to figure everything out, but things don't go completely well along the way. I think, really enjoyed the first issue of this. What did you think about the second one?
Yeah,
I like it a lot. Okay. I feel like the way they're like, really, the premise is so strong, and they're just like, let's do the premise, and then we'll key into these characters slowly and like tease out sort of what's unique about them. But like, it's just fun. All the different fictional or mythological beings and characters that pop up here, and in scenarios where you don't expect exactly how it's going to come out.
Yeah, I really think this is a great kind of idea for a comic and really well executed, where right now it's not really the main characters that we care about. It's all the characters that are going through trauma that are coming to this hospital. The whole like cube thing was hysterical and intense. And I really was like, oh man, this baby thing is all right, but I'm really interested in what's going to happen to this cube person. So like, it does a great job of like kind of splitting things up and making it really fun. And yeah, I'm really like the main characters. Sure. But I'm having so much fun with the other stuff.
I agree. Very fun book. Last but not least, this was the request this week. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin from IDW Publishing. Story by Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, Tom Waltz, and Andy Kuhn. Art by Kevin Eastman, Esau, and Isaac Escorza, and Ben Bishop. If I remember correctly, this is based on a old pitch / maybe they sketched some stuff out by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird back in the day, back when they were originally doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that never got done. Eventually they did it, and it was Kevin Eastman taking it. I know a lot of people have talked about finally it's Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird working together again. I don't think it was exactly that. It was Peter Laird being like, sure, go ahead and do this thing. But they are working off of some of those layouts there. And it's all essentially Dark Knight Rises, except with Michelangelo, is I think the easiest way.
Go fuck yourself by trying to do stuff like that to it.
Okay, it's Old Man Logan, except with Michelangelo.
Now we're
better?
talking.
Christ, what the fuck, man?
He finally pops his nunchucks at the end.
No, but it is. It's like it has elements of Dark Knight Rises, except with the movie. I'm talking about the movie.
Why are you so mad? Why are you so mad?
Because
Pete?
the reason I'm so mad is this book is more than some other fucking movie, and don't mash it up like this.
It's more than the seminal Frank Miller graphic novel that everybody loves. I'm sorry I compared it to things that people like.
It's I guess it's fine to do that, but what's upsetting is this is revisiting a team that changed comic books forever and created Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and revisiting it not only with the same black and white style, but showing Michelangelo as not this pizza party dude cowabunga, but what he originally was the heart of the team. And
you're right. I'm sorry, Pete. I apologize. I'll come up with a better metaphor. It's like the 86 Mets meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and only Daryl Strawberry survived.
Wow. So Daryl Strawberry's Michelangelo.
Yeah, he's like the funny one.
I was gonna say more Keith. I was gonna say Keith Hernandez, but all right.
Okay, I can see that.
Maybe Lenny Dykstra, but okay. Sure. I mean,
I'm so sorry. Did I just walk into the wrong podcast? I apologize. I'm gonna go. Maybe it's the one podcast down the lane here.
You're listening to The Amazins, the podcast about the 86 Mets. Pete, what's your favorite thing about that apple that comes out of a top hat every time they hit a home run?
Wow, look at Zalvin flexing his Mets knowledge on us.
Whatever, I didn't know you were such a Mets guy.
Yeah,
it's the only thing I
anyway,
got
going. Mookie.
This, I think Alex is right, and Pete, you haven't really said what you actually think of this book, but it's using those influences and bringing them to the Turtles. And it's used in a way that I think it's good. It's not like it's a clone of those things. I don't think it's insulting to compare it to them. It's a tonal thing, and it's like sort of that like gritty one turtle journey, just trying to keep on living.
I think, what I'm worried about is what Zalvin is saying is cheapening what we're doing here.
You're worried about somebody listening to the podcast and be like, Dark Knight Rises meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, two things I like. No way I'm checking that out. Is that your fear here?
No, my fear is that you're taking an original idea and aping it onto something that may or may not.
All right, retracted. So let's take it back. Let's erase everything. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin is literally nothing I've ever seen before. That there is no way of describing it. Pete, what'd you think?
Okay, great. So what I really liked about this is it showcases my favorite turtle, Michelangelo. But no, it's about loss. It's about a family and the changing of the guard and a lot of different things that for somebody who is kind of born and raised on the old Eastman and Laird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just to see these names together again was emotional. The panel that Mikey paying homage to his brothers as he's trying to get vengeance, and you get their weapons kind of used sporadically. And when you get to the nunchakus, I was fucking bawling my eyes out because there was something that I haven't seen since the 80s. And that's my favorite character, drawn exactly how it was back then. And it was really a fantastic story that also touched upon some of the old Eastman and Laird kind of themes and moved the story forward. So I was really impressed that we were kind of able to reach back in time with these flashbacks to the old style of art while having this new style also work with it. Just really, really powerful and so much fun. And I'm so glad someone recommended that we kind of take this dip back in time, if you will, to a moment in time of comics that really changed the game.
I cried too. I cried, but when you said nunchakus.
Nice.
Go ahead, Alex.
Just real quick, Pete, am I allowed to talk about the plot of the book, or is that going to imply to people that it's derivative as well and has a plot?
Derivative of itself.
Go ahead. You can go ahead. Just don't
great.
compare it to something.
No, I'm not going to compare it to anything. I'm just going to talk about the plot. But I don't want anybody to be like, ugh, plot, and get upset about that. So rest of the turtles are dead. This is years later in the future. Michelangelo is alone and fighting against the guy who killed the rest of the turtles. Spoiler for the end of the first issue, but he fails. And when he fails, he finds some old allies that help him build up the fight again up until there is a final fight with essentially this new Shredder by the end of the issue. But as Pete mentioned, it goes through a bunch of different styles. We got the very old school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style from the Eastman and Laird run. We get some flashbacks within flashbacks, as well as things happening in the future. Justin, what did you think about this one?
I like this book a lot. I think I reviewed this already, but I guess we're deleting that because it was a derivative review from before. So we're saying what we said again, Pete, right? What are we saying?
Just tell us what the fucking thought of the book, man.
I did like it. Like I said, like it following the fun turtle as he goes on a dark path is it's a good story, and it does remind me of other great stories, but that's what's great about reading stories.
You guys weren't moved at all by the black and white, kind of like scratchy, old school drawings of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I love that. I mean, as a fan of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series or anything necessarily that's followed since, that does give me a nostalgic rush. I do think the first issue and last issue in particular of this are really good. The first issue is awesome. That's my favorite one.
The first issue is my fave, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you read nothing else, definitely read that.
They're all good.
The middle issues take their time and stay in a place when I wish it was moving the plot forward a little bit more, but it very pleasantly reminded me of what I like about those old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle runs where, like, it wasn't a joke. It was very deadly serious, and horrible things could happen to the turtles all the time. And that's what this really leads into. And when it leans into that, like it does in the first issue and like it does in the last issue, it works really, really well. But there's a lot of really good stuff between it as well. So good thing. Thank you for the recommendation. If you would like to support this podcast, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast on YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about comic books. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Comic Book Live on Twitter, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the comic book shop.
It's bananas for the good alone.
Comic book club. Come on, comic book club. Comic book club. Mercer club. Join Alex, Justin, and Tony every Tuesday night. Once a week, they'll blow your mind with their comic senses and extend their already extended adolescence. As comic book club, comic book club, comic book club, comic book club. They sit on crappy couches and they